Dear colleagues, we are pleased to present to you the results of our research titled Biomass Potential of Forest Residues in Forests of Ukrainian Carpathians as a Component of Regional Green Economy. This research has been carried out by a group of researchers from the National University of Life and Environmental Sciences of Ukraine. This research topic and the research itself is important since forests act as an important component of ecosystems, especially in the mountainous areas. In these areas, forest management should be multi-vectored, and it should balance environmental protection, socio-economic development of local communities under special conditions of mountainous ecosystems. Under this setting, it is necessary to transfer to the sustainable development paradigm. Also, given the fact that in Ukraine, in general, the efficiency of energy use is rather low and the energy demands are growing, it's necessary to say that forests are able, and they actually should play an important role as a source of renewable energy. Security and economics-driven reasons play a special role under the current very uneasy martial law conditions. And also, we have to remember that in Ukraine, especially in mountainous areas, there still are settlements without central supply of natural gas, and therefore they have to rely on other sources of energy. A couple of words about the forests of Ukrainian Carpathians, which you can see marked with a green arrow on the map. The mountain forests of Ukraine, they are a part of Eastern European mid-latitude ecotone. They do represent a resource-rich forest management hotspot in a developing country, which Ukraine is. The Carpathians are located in four administrative regions, namely in Lviv, Ivano-Frankivsk, Chernivtsi, and Zakarpattia regions. These forests occupy an area of over 2 million hectares. They feature a growing stock of over 580 million cubic meters, and they also have a substantial monetary value, as well as they do perform vital and inherent functions of mountainous ecosystems, which are, in fact, very important for the society. The forests of Ukrainian Carpathians are dominated by such tree species as European spruce, European beech, and also a substantial part of silver fir is present, which actually is an indigenous species for the Carpathian region, as well as, since the mountainous forest ecosystems are very diverse and rich, there are many other tree species on that territory. Speaking about the distribution of area of these forests by administrative regions, we have to note that in Lviv, Zakarpattia, and Ivano-Frankivsk, there is approximately even distribution of mountainous forests, and they take up an area of approximately 6,000 to 7,000 hectares. And in Chernivtsi region, the share is substantially smaller, as well as the area, which you can see on a chart on the right of this slide. To carry out the research, we used the following sources of data. First of all, we used the data of state forest account. Also, we used the reference materials on growth, yield, and biological productivity of forests of Ukrainian Carpathians. We also used a database of sample plots, which we further applied for development of information support for this research, and also we used some statistical reference data. So, speaking about the biomass of crown branches in forests of Ukrainian Carpathians, you can see that on the table on the slide, it's depicted that the highest density of biomass of crown branches can be observed in the Zakarpattia region. This is partly due to the species composition and growth conditions, partly also due to the peculiarities of forest management, which of course have an impact on growth and formation of forest stands. Also, you can see that for different tree species, the patterns of formation of crown branches and their biomass is very substantially varies. So the biggest share of crown branches clearly is observed in European beach dominated stands, and in general it's due to the biological peculiarities of these three species. So it's necessary to say that we have the results of energy value of three biomass components. In terms of crown branches, the results are depicted in the table on this slide. As you can see, there is distribution of the energy value of crown branches on wood of these branches and bark of these branches, and then you have in general total wood over bark. This is the previous two fractions combined. So again, since it was, as it was said earlier, European beech, due to its biological peculiarities, has the biggest share of crown branches among the dominating tree species in Ukrainian Carpathians. Here you can also see that both for wood, bark and wood over bark, the energy value of dry matter of live biomass of the crown is also the biggest for the European beech. It's also necessary to say that European beech stands, when they reach an age of 110 to 120 years, they feature the proportion of crown branches of about 20 to 25% of total stem stock. For spruce and fir, this figure is substantially lower, about 10 to 15%, and it's necessary to underline that currently more than 80% of logging residues remain on site after logging. Some of them can be used for heat production without harming the environment. Next, coming to the energy potential of forest wood residues biomass in the forest of our research region, we have to say that for our research region, which consists of 4 administrative regions, the biggest amount of the highest energy potential is characteristic for the Carpathia region. And also we have to say that Ivano-Frankivsk, Lviv and Chernivtsi regions, they feature approximately the same or very close energy potential of forest wood residues biomass. And it's also necessary to say a couple of words about the prospects for further research and further research needs. So first and probably the most important thing that is very beneficial for forest management planning is stand level assessment of energy potential of wood residues for mountain forests. It actually really benefits a lot to forest management planning because on a stand level basis we could, if this is done, then on stand level basis we could move forward with planning of different management activities which would be aimed at production and obtaining these resources which could be then put into energy use. So currently the assessment that we have presented to you, it exists in this current state where we have assessment figures and values for our research region with subdivision into administrative regions, oblasts. And this approach is good enough to go down from this level only down to level of districts. But then what is really needed and where we see a future perspective is to carry out this kind of assessment on a level of single individual stands. So this would be much finer resolution and would be much more beneficial for the purposes of forest management. And also we would have to underline the necessity of incorporation of this stand level assessment to the existing system of forest management planning, which is carried out by the Industrial Association Ukrdержlіспроект. And it would be done in a way that after collecting field data and processing them, the next step would be calculation of energy potentials and including them into the projects of organization and development of forestry enterprises. So then when this data is needed, it would be readily available. Speaking about the conclusions, I would say that the majority of them were reflected in the course of my talk. So I ask your permission not to stop on them in details. And if you have questions, you're welcome to ask them. Thank you for your attention.